Call to order the March meeting of the Public Safety of Rutherford County. It's good to see those of you here this evening. I know we have made some changes compared to our normal meeting of Public Safety, and we appreciate those of you that are here this evening to working with these changes and trying our best to be as safe as possible. We're asking that when you get through making your report that you take it upon yourself to go ahead and leave. And you don't have to stay, but we're trying to stay within the rules that have been set, some of them by ourselves, and we want to make sure that the public understands we are trying to do this as correct as possible. We have spread the commissioners out at least 6 feet apart. That's not to keep them at a distance from each other for any other reason than to keep them safe. And this room has been disinfected, I believe, Mayor. I saw them in here earlier cleaning it and taking care of it. So we're trying our best to do like everybody else and trying to keep our social distance in that way. To begin our meeting, we'll ask for approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Mr. Vice Chairman.
I have reviewed and read the minutes of the 24th of February and found that they're inaccurate and request that
We have a motion made by our Vice Chairman. Do we have a second? Have a second. Commissioner Gurley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Minutes have been approved. The first thing we have on our agenda this evening is something that was requested, and I guess it started somewhat with me, but dealing with our pretrial release program. That was approved back in July, I believe, of last year. That's when we began with it, but we had to have some things done as far as getting that implemented to get it correct and to start. And we've asked some of our judges to be here this evening. We've had a lot of discussion that for some reason has come up in the public out there. I think some incorrect information has been given by that wonderful social media called Facebook. You know, if it comes up on Facebook, it's true. I'm sure you've heard that, but it's not necessarily true. So I'm going to ask Judge OSHA to begin with it, and then she can bring the other judges with her also and introduce them in the way that she wants to explain this. And this is not only just for our commissioners' information, but for those who are watching on television this evening. Judge?
All right, thank you. Today we're here to talk about the pretrial release program, which y'all we presented to you last July. It got on the budget. I'm going to let Judge Bennett come up. He's here also. Judge McFarland wanted to come, but we would not let him come because he didn't need to be here. So we said we'd do it, and if we mess up, text us. Since it's on TV, I guess he'll let us know. Judge Bennett?
Thank you. First, we're very excited to be before you this evening, and although we are excited about the pretrial release program, we will be brief in our remarks. This committee, and specifically Commissioner P., was exercising a tremendous amount of forethought in establishing a pretrial release program that was funded in last year's budget. Part of that funding was to increase just very slightly a senior position that we had so that we could hire a licensed attorney to be our senior judicial commissioner. And we have since been able to find a fine individual that I'm going to introduce to you tonight that will have a lot more information about the pretrial release program and be able to answer your questions more precisely than I. In short, what I can tell you, though, is that in the time that the program has been in effect, it has achieved the very goals that this committee and our commission set out to achieve, and I'm pleased to present you with those facts through our judicial commissioner, our senior judicial commissioner, Mr. Jacob Flatt.
Good evening, everybody. What I'll do, I'll just go through kind of a breakdown of the pretrial release program and then let y'all ask questions if you have any after that. Pretrial release currently is staffed by 3 pretrial release coordinators. We began hiring those whenever I accepted this employment. That would have started, the first hire date was October 28th of 2019. We hired the second one on November 7th of 2019, and the final position was staffed on December 12th of 2019. excuse me, since December of 2019, which is when we fully got everyone hired, staffed, and began considering individuals, and that's since the time that I can track the individuals that are considered for pretrial release. Since that time, we have done assessments on 233 individuals that are arrested on offenses that are otherwise eligible to be considered. Of those 233 individuals that we've done assessments on, pretrial release has been approved for 219. And you can do the math. It costs, on average, $63 a day to house an inmate at the jail. That is an average number. Some individuals, it could take more than that. Just depends on if there are any other issues that come along with that. So if you do the math on that, if you consider that of all those that are released, if you consider them being there for 1 day, that totals to $13,797. And keep in mind, many of these individuals are there from anywhere from 2 to 5 days before they're going to be brought in front of a judge. And at a minimum, many of them are going to be there for 2 days. So if you double that number, then you're looking at $27,594 that effectively it's saving the county. Also, if someone is arrested, say on a Friday night, it'll be until, they won't see a judge until the following Tuesday. So they're there over the weekend, and obviously the county is paying for that as well. Those are some statistics on it, and you can play with the numbers and do the math, but if y'all have any questions, then.
I think Commissioner Reed was talking to me earlier about the cases that we release, and tell them what the guidelines are about who's qualified, who's allowed to be released.
So a breakdown, someone gets arrested, and the first things that we're looking at is what are they charged with and where do they live. If they live in Middle Tennessee, which is Rutherford and the surrounding counties, and they're charged with a nonviolent offense, then they would be considered for pretrial release. The first thing that would happen is they would do an assessment that would determine whether or not they are low risk to high risk and whether or not they will fail to appear in court. The bottom line is that's what we're looking at, is their ability to make their court appearances. That's what we're trying to assess when we do that. After there's an assessment, depending on what the score is, if they're moderate to low risk, then we would further consider them for pretrial release. The next step that we would take is a criminal history check. We have the capability to do that, so we run those to make sure that the information they're providing us is accurate and they don't have any violent convictions in their criminal history.
You run an NCIC.
NCIC.
So, and if you think about it, we run NCICs on them. We can check and see if they've been in the system before, if they've been arrested before. Those are all the guidelines that you look at as whether you're not going to release them. There's a lot of bad things happening on Facebook where bondsmen are saying we're releasing everybody. That's just not true. And we run an NCIC. I don't know one bondsman that's ever done that on anybody released. So there's a lot, like Commissioner Reed said, there's a lot of bad truths, untruths, just wrong information, misinformation on Facebook. But the pretrial release program, and now these 3 counselors just got software thanks to our OIT. They created it for us.
We had some issues from the inception trying to get it fully up and running. Ultimately, County IT was able to develop a case management software for them to be able to keep track of their cases and the documents that are related to those cases.
I know one example that they were using is that we had released someone on the pretrial release program that the individuals had been arrested for human trafficking. Would somebody that got arrested for that be involved in this program?
No, sir.
Well, that's what I thought, and that's what I thought everybody would have thought, but they were using that as a way of saying this is something the county commission had voted for. And it's releasing people under, because my understanding was that a felony would not be involved in this program.
No, sir. And my understanding from that, if my recollection is correct, many of those individuals that are arrested on those charges would have had a source hearing. Their bond would have been set above a certain amount, which would require them to have a source hearing to be able to know where those funds are coming from, so that would not happen in that situation.
Nobody that has a crime of domestic assault, no domestic assault.
We get a lot of those, and they're not eligible. Nothing violent and no serious major felonies.
Commissioner P.
Chairman, first I want to ask each one of y'all to speak in the mic, because people at home on the TV are not going to hear what you're saying if you're not speaking in the mic there.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to ask the question is, can you explain the difference between somebody that's released on their own reconnaissance versus the pretrial release program? And I've had people call me, including reporters, and I've tried to tell them there is a difference, and I think it's better coming from y'all.
So the difference in that situation, someone that's released on their own recognizance is just giving their bond, their word that they're going to appear in court. Pretrial release, when someone is released in pretrial release, they have a coordinator who is going to monitor that case, who's going to call them, stay in touch with them, make sure that they do everything they can to stay, to make sure that they will make their court appearance. That's the difference. And frankly, they may even be doing more than some bondsmen, just depending on who the bonding company would be.
Well, you could, in theory, release somebody on their own recognizance that is not a first offender. Could be a second offender, but it could be, you know, a traffic offense or whatever the heck it was. But,
Correct, yes, sir.
so there's some subtle differences there, and I want people to know that because they're trying to group those together.
No, yeah, two different things, and one is something where there's actually oversight, whereas the other there would be no oversight.
And if I may, Commissioner, I'll speak to that briefly. The difference, another huge difference that this program is going to take up is these pretrial release counselors are also getting these folks involved in a lot of what we call bond conditions, that are things that are followed up on by our counselors that they have to do between the time that they're arrested and the time that their case is resolved through the court system. Now, that's taken the baby steps to help these, you hear a lot today about the criminal justice reform. That's taken baby steps to help them perhaps get involved in programs, do screens such as drug screens, pill counts, things of that nature. When we release someone on their own recognizance, that typically, not always, but typically will come from the judicial branch, and we'll also put bond conditions on them as a condition of that release. It's not as simple as telling someone, well, you're released until your court date. What it usually happens is say, we're going to release you on your own recognizance, but it's going to be subject to these conditions, and here's how we're going to monitor and check those conditions as your case progresses. That's another big difference.
One other thing I'd like to say is I admire each and every one of you for the job that you've done on this, and I think it's a very good thing for Rutherford County that we're doing this. I think the governor, besides he's up to his eyebrows in problems right now, but this is one thing that he said he was going to address statewide, and I still look for it to be addressed statewide. But I think that just like we were one of the first counties to put SROs in our schools, we're one of the first counties to do this, and I'm proud of what we've done, and especially proud of y'all, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Other questions? Anyone else?
And just to ease everybody's mind, this program is now up and running, which is great. And our statistics are going to be so much better 6 months from now that we got OIT to do our software. Mr. Flatt's doing an unbelievable job with our commissioner's office. Really appreciate everybody letting us hire an attorney in that position, because he not only is helping with this, but he's also helping with some cases maybe that are coming in that he really has to use his law degree to determine probable cause. And so everything that Judge Bennett and I have started, and Judge McFarland, and I know he wishes he was here tonight, is to move this county forward instead of back. That's what we're trying to do. And in no way, and I want to let the citizens of Rutherford County know, that we are not putting anybody in danger with the pretrial release program. Not at all. And the people that we release are people that our counselors are going to work with and bring them to court. Because what fills our jail up 90% of the time is the failures to appear, because they don't come to court. The bonded cases, the bondsmen don't get them there. And now, people that we are going to let out with conditions, we're going to have our counselors call them and say, hey, you got court tomorrow. Because if they get picked up on a failure to appear, that's then another 3-4 days of our sitting in jail because they just forgot the court date. And 90% of them just forget. I mean, it's you know, that happens. Now, the 10% that don't, they get to stay in jail. But so this program is going to work. It's already showing the numbers. It's going to work. And the citizens of Rutherford County, if you have questions about it, call the judge's office. Call us. Now, don't call us about an individual case because we can't talk about it, but if you want to learn about the program, I'll be glad to talk to you about it. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and explaining this, and we sure appreciate it. All right, we begin with our reports. Pause.
Good evening. For our February report, we had 510 animals that came into the shelter. We had an 85.8% adoption reclaim percentage and a 3.2% euthanasia rate. The biggest numbers I'd like to point your attention to are the live release rates down at the bottom of the first page. Our dogs were 95.8%, cats were 98.7%, and overall we had a 95.8% live release rate. We had around 3,000 people come into the shelter, and we had 1,765 calls and voicemails. And we completed 1,717 calls, which had us traveling 11,478 miles. Year to date, we had 4,701 animals come into the shelter. Biggest thing down there at the bottom of that page again is our live release rate for the first 8 months of the fiscal year was 91.3%. We completed 14,872 calls, and we traveled 103,514 miles. Rabies and bite exposure for the month. You'll remember this goes by calendar year, not by fiscal year. We had 32 bites that were reported. 2 of those were sent for testing. None came back as positive. And we had 10 other exposures. 1 of those was sent for testing as well and did not come back as positive also. On your information that I included for this month, there's another one that's I think it says February 2020 animal outcome graph, if I recall. This is something we're going to start putting out monthly to you all, and then we're going to start putting that out on our Facebook page as well, just so that people can see a visual there of what we're doing as far as animal outcomes. I had to put colors on there because you couldn't even see some of the things down there as far as euthanasia and others. So you can see, we can say that we had a 95.8% live release rate on dogs, but I think seeing that visually just takes that to another level. And that is all my report. Tonight, sir.
Okay. Any questions on the report? Got a motion approved, Commissioner P. Second by Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Report is approved. I believe you have 2 budget amendments.
Yes, sir, we do. The first budget amendment, we're asking to move money around within our budget just to try to shore up some line items to where we're going to run a little bit over or run pretty tight within our budget year. That's the one that total is $5,000 within the budget. Did you want to do these separate or together, sir?
Let's do them separate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve that? Now, we need to vote for this one. Call the roll.
Commissioner Phillips? Commissioner Reed?
Aye.
Commissioner P? Commissioner Sereno? Commissioner Gammon? Commissioner Rather? Commissioner Gurley?
Motion's approved. Your next item, Director.
The next budget amendment, if you'll recall, back in the fall, we had requested and received permission to apply for a grant through Petco Foundation. We did receive word. We applied for around $62,000. They basically do a formula based on our numbers and across the country and determine, okay, you're not going to get what you applied for, but you're going to get something. So we did get a $30,000 grant from them. And what this does is it recognizes the revenue and the budget amendment to put that money back out into our budget. This will go over the rest of this fiscal year as well as jump into next fiscal year. So we'll have to do some amendments and some things at the beginning of the next fiscal year to account for what wasn't spent. But what we had originally proposed with this grant, we had looked back, and historically Fridays has been our lowest adoption day. So we're looking at unique ways that we could increase that as an adoption day and get more animals out. So what we're proposing is to take $19,500 of that and do what we're calling Petco Foundation Free for All Fridays. So they would pay, in this instance, they would pay $375 for every Friday to sponsor all adoptions for that particular day. If you look back over what we had budgeted for this year and last year, we were budgeting around $58,000 for total adoption fees. So you can see we increased that up above that over one day just to make sure that we're covered there, because we expect maybe we might drop off a little bit on Thursday and drop off a little on Saturday for people coming on Fridays. It also includes some money there to do some advertising, which is something that Petco has asked for us to be able to do there. $7,000 will go into our drugs and medical supply line. Mainly that's to pay for heartworm treatments for heartworm positive animals to prevent that as a barrier to adoption for folks, because that medication is expensive. And then the last item is to put some money into getting supplies for our officers for our trap neuter release program. This doesn't involve any county money at all.
Any questions? We have a motion by Commissioner P. Have a second? Commissioner Gurley. Call the roll.
Commissioner Gammon? Yes. Commissioner Rather? Yes. Commissioner Gurley? Yes. Commissioner P? Yes. Commissioner Phillips? And Chairman Reed.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. All right, public safety.
Good evening, all. I'm not public safety, I'm emergency management, but I'll do the best I can in relation to that. I apologize, I don't have my notes based on the public safety emergency management report that I sent you all, but I'll give you a minute to review that while I talk on some issues that are going on at this present time. We've been in constant communication and coordination with the state concerning the COVID-19 response. We've solicited for information from all of our public safety agencies as to any resource requirements regarding personal protective equipment and decontamination type issues. We're compiling that data and sending it up to the state. We're expecting the national stockpile to be released hopefully by the end of the week. They are looking at a distribution management protocol to distribute these articles to the counties based on population. So it's a matter of question right now as to exactly how much we will get and exactly what we will get. But we'll know more on that as soon as the stockpile is released and those logistics are put together. So I'm asking that anyone public safety related that has these needs to make sure that you get me those lists and rosters of resources that you would be anticipating would be required for you to continue business safely with your employees. And also any healthcare facilities in the county that are also running low on supplies, please get those to our office as well, because we're also coordinating that with the state. As far as issues with the public safety report, anything of relevance, we did hold a Homeland Security active aggressor tabletop exercise, comprehensive multi-jurisdictional at the EOC on the 12th. It was successful, but we didn't have quite as many people as we expected because there's apparently some kind of virus going around. So, but we did have a good exercise. I did have to cancel the April 7th full scale because we had an anticipated number of over 250 participants in that exercise. And with what's going on with the COVID-19 social distancing protocol, we wanted to make sure that everybody would remain safe, and so we canceled that event, and hopefully we can pick that up again at a later date. That's all I have right now.
Okay. I believe we have a budget worksheet here.
Yes, sir. In relation to the public worksheet, there are two different versions that you have because I was not involved in the meetings previously with the other public safety director. We have the first one on top with the red in the explanation column. This is the wants that are indicated with the total budget down. Now, we're not sure whether the anticipated special operations resources were going to be embedded into our budget or not. I know it was discussed.
Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And of course, with Mr. Lauer's departure, it's kind of unfair. I did send out a communication members to all the departments concerning their budget. If you recall, at the beginning of the year, I asked them to give us, similar to last year, give us their needs budget and also give us their wants budget. But the communique I sent out last week, because of the COVID-19, I sent out, things are changing. Please bring back, and of course, I don't think that you're prepared to give us a bare bones, but I've asked every department to bring back a bare bones budget to us. Eliminate travel, get it down, because as you know, restaurants, we're going to, the sales tax revenue, and we won't see it until April, okay, because we always get our numbers a month in arrears from the state. So we won't know where we are until May numbers come in for April, which are probably going to hit us. The first part of March, we're going to be okay. Second part of March is going to be disastrous. Hotel, motel tax, restaurants, fuel. The numbers are sliding just like the stock market is. So I have asked every department to come back, and so we can readjust and bring back a bare bones. Be prepared. The 1% increase that I was going to come to you and request for an increase over the last year increase for all of our employees, I think that's gone. I'm talking reality with you of what's happening to our budget. So I don't know if you've had time,
yes, sir.
Tim,
if I could,
make that
when
adjustment.
we received that notification from you, the second roster that's attached, all in black, is the bare minimum budget that we're looking at. I'll give you time to go over that, but
and I'd ask in that memo to go through line by line and tell me exactly, so I can bring it to the commission, what you can go with 12 full months that you absolutely can live without. Live without is where we need to be, just in case. And then if things turn around, and by the time July or the end of June gets here, things turn around, we'll come back and reapply those numbers. But I just want you to be prepared, and your employees to be prepared,
yes, sir,
for the worst case scenario.
Yes, sir. And with these numbers on the bare minimum, we are 3.5% below what we were last year. That's the only change that we have.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor. The mayor did come up here and tell me that, and but I felt like it was better for him to tell the commission this of where we're going with this evening and where we need to go from there. This is, as we said at the very beginning of this, these are different times and what we have to deal with. Commissioners, do you have any questions of what you're seeing there? I know this is coming back to you at a later date. Commissioner Gurley.
Now, I think this is a very realistic budget as far as a bare bones budget. In fact, under these circumstances, having worked both at the state and local level in emergency management, that budget may need to grow because those needs are going to increase possibly. So I think just be prepared that the demand on this particular agency, which is a minimally staffed agency to start with, is going to increase over the coming weeks and months, just in handling even if the state and federal government steps up, all of that is funneled through that agency. And they have to be accountable along with our finance department for all of those dollars spent. So please bear that in mind, that we may have to have some temporary staffing or whatever. Also bear in mind that we're in the middle of a major capital project to the tune of $17 million with the radio system. And that project, if it's going forward, which I would assume it would, we've committed to it, will require certain things to happen over the next 6 to 9 months, and in order to make that a reality. So thank you, and appreciate the mayor's comments.
Okay. I think it's been the process in these budgets right here is that we basically just go through them as we have done here, and then I believe the mayor's going to bring them back at a later date with the individuals to go over them again with his recommendations and where we go from there. So there's nothing for us to approve at this time, but for you to take this and give it a good going over what you have here to give you anything there. Any questions? Anything in particular? If not, I need a motion on the approval of the report that we've had. Commissioner Serino, second. Commissioner Rather. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The report. Just the report, not the budget. Okay. Thank you, sir.
If I could,
yes.
Could I get Mr. Rogers to come up and brief on the current status of the communications project?
We have him after the fire and rescue, but
all right, that's fine.
Yeah, we do that at that time?
We can do that, yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just not getting out of the agenda. All right, next thing we have is ambulance.
Hello, everybody. Okay, for the month of February, on the number of 911 calls, we had 3,024 calls. Number of transfers we had from hospital to hospital were 85. Total number of calls we had for the month of February was 3,109. I told you last month I was going to see if I couldn't squeeze another point of our response times, and we set another record at 6.3. So we're very proud of that, but I'm going to be honest with you, with things what's going on, I don't know if I'm going to be able to maintain that for a while, but when things settle down, we're going to trim it back down. But due to the circumstances we're in, we're having to take our time to get ready on some things. So if y'all bear with me on that while we get through this. The number of DOAs we had for the month were 52. The state payments we received on those was $1,300. Number of autopsies for the month were 21, and we paid out $39,375 for those. Year to date on autopsies are 172, and we've paid a total of $322,500. Total billed was $1,515,395. Total collections are at $807,376. Year-to-date collections are at $6,073,917. Our projected yearly collections are at $9,107,000. $110,875. Our percent of collection percent raised around 83%. Insurance write-offs were $545,990, and other write-offs at $110,382. And flipping over to the non-emergency side, we had 328 calls. 33 of those were declined. Total billed was $247,386. Collected $70,021. Year-to-date collections are at $597,689. Projected yearly collections are at $896,533. Percent collections at 55%. Insurance write-offs were at $119,555, and other write-offs were at $11,903. And after that is just a summary of, if you'd like to read that, of that month. We had, I got a nice thank you letter from the mayor and 2 other thank you notes and 3 updates from patients we've flown out with Life Flight. And that's all for my report, sir.
Any questions on the report?
Don't have a question, but I've got a statement to make. I've got to tell you, Carl, and I want you to pass this on to all your people. I know all of us can say this. We're very proud of the response that you've given this county. Right now, you know, our guys always putting their lives out on the line, but I think the public's a little more aware of, you know, what you're doing and what you're dealing with than they normally would be. For instance, most of you don't know, before we walked into this room, we were checked by your people for temperature, signs, travel, exposure before we were allowed here. But I want to tell you all, you've got my heartfelt thanks.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to assure this committee and the people watching at home, the ambulance service is strong, we're healthy, and we're not wavering from this. Matter of fact, I've had 6 people come up to me volunteering and wanting to do more. So we're strong, we're healthy, and we're going to face this and get through it. And we faced challenges before. You know, the swine flu was bad to deal with. We dealt with that. And I want everybody to rest assured that we're healthy and we're moving forward. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We appreciate you, Director. Any other? Do I have a motion to approve the report? Commissioner Phillips approves. Do we have, and Commissioner Gurley seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Report is approved. I believe we have an amendment.
We have several, I believe. Do you want me to go through all of them at once, or do you need to vote on each of them individually?
We have more than, I think they're all together in the.
They are all together.
They're all together. We'll
Yes.
do them all at once.
Okay. We are requesting to move $10,000 from our building improvements line 707 into our maintenance and repairs building 335. We've got a lot of stations that we've had to do major repairs to, so we just are requesting within our own budget to move that $10,000 into 335. The next one is communication equipment. We're requesting to move $35,000. $20,000 of that we're requesting to go into gasoline, and $15,000 into, if you'll skip down, 530 assessments and penalties. Excuse me. That is the TennCare assessments. They give us money, we pay them money. We collect more than we pay. And we're also requesting to move $25,000 out of engineering services into the assessments and penalties. The next one, we received a $7,000 check from St. Thomas Rutherford for our paramedic scholarship program. We're just requesting to move that from the revenue into the in-service staff development line. and we received 2 donations. One from Schwann's Cosmetics for $150, one from Dr. Russ Galloway for $1,200 for our EMS week. We're requesting to move those into our donations line item. And that's it.
Have a motion to approve? Have a motion from Commissioner Rather. Have a second? Commissioner Gurley. Any question? Call the roll.
Commissioner Sherino? Yes. Commissioner P? Yes. Commissioner Gammon? Yes. Commissioner Rather? Yes. Commissioner Gurley? Yes. Commissioner Phillips? Aye. And Chairman Reed.
Aye. Motion carries.
I guess we're ready for our budget. And before we start, Lisa found a mistake I made. So, Carl, if you would hand these out. I just brought paper copies because the ones you received on your iPads are not correct. Yeah, that goes with it too. The stapled ones and then the, yes. I apologize, she didn't find it until 4 o'clock, so I didn't have time to send it back to you. This is not our bare bones budget. It does include the 1% increase that the mayor had talked about. So if that does not go through, we will be coming back with another. So do you want to go through line by line or look at the total?
Skip line by line and go to the bottom line. What is this, you say it's the 1% budget?
All the salaries, the mayor is requesting to increase each step by 1%. That's what this has. It also includes, last year, if you remember, everyone was reclassified, if that's the right wording, except the advanced EMTs. They did not get a pay grade increase. We're requesting, and Sonia has done a study on that, and we are requesting to raise their pay grades this year because they did not get one last year.
Yes, if I'm correct, the majority of the increase on the bottom line comes, of course, the mayor's already addressed the 1%, the possibility that will probably and most likely go away. But it looks like in the health equipment, that's 735, and then 718, you're requesting 2 new ambulances and 2 remounts, and then the cardiac monitor, that's going to be totaling almost $1 million. Is that something that maybe the director can address, that we've got to replace them all at one time, or can we replace part of them at one time?
The reason, let me explain how we got in the situation.
I know that.
Okay.
I know that. My only question is, do we have to do it all at one time?
If I can do 10 a year, I can survive. But I mean, that's what.
And how many monitors are included in the 1 million?
30.
30?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Okay. So we could go 10 a year.
Yes, sir.
Cut that into 300 and something thousand, and then do 10 next year and 10 the next year, and so on. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? And the only thing that changed on the paper copy I gave you and the one you got on your iPad was line 133 for the paraprofessionals. I had that figure wrong, which also changed the benefits, the Social Security, pensions, insurance. Everything else is correct, but that also changed the grand total. Correct, it is. And it's also with the EMTs getting the pay grade increases.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Let me explain also in 735, the health equipment. That includes 30 cardiac monitors, but it also includes 30 AEDs, or automatic defibrillators. Thank you. My mind went blank.
We're having a request from the HR director.
It also includes the communications adjustments that we need to make because we're having a difficult time staffing, so we had to bump that up one pay grade to see if we can get.
Thank you.
We're having more time to share costs. You'll see that reflected in your budget as well. But we keep making adjustments on one pay grade to dispatch efficiency, communications operators to see if we can get some items to share with the ambulance service.
So our communications officers, Sonia has done a study, and we're requesting 4 shift lead positions. Right now, we have 1 supervisor, and she is on call 24/7. She gets called all hours of the night, and this would help her and have a supervisor there 24/7. Thank you, Sonia.
Anything else? And we do understand the fact of we really don't know right now what this is going to affect the whole budget and what we've got, but this is where we are at the current time and what we've got. Is there anything that maybe you have seen, Director, that what you may have been exposed to over the last few days that something out of the ordinary that may affect this budget? Anything in particular, or?
That's, I don't know how to give you a direct answer on it. We did.
Nobody does.
Right. We're adapting and overcoming every day, and I can tell you one thing, the community has been nothing but gracious to us. They have been donating us stuff, and there's so many of them. I'm trying to get the list of names just so I can make sure they're recognized. But we've had truckloads of stuff, masks and gowns and stuff coming into us that's really helping us out. And I don't know how this is going to affect my budget. To be honest with you, sir, I just
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Are we
Mr.
going to,
Gordon?
can we ask questions about the convalescent also?
That's on the next page. We were just looking at this one, and then I think we're going to come back on that one. If we've fairly well have covered just the ambulance, so we'll ask the convalescent.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask on the convalescent, it looks like it's about a $632,000 increase.
Yes, sir.
Or it's almost quadrupled, or 3.5 times what it was last year.
We've also quadrupled our revenue. This budget at $845,000, we are projecting to collect $875,000 on the convalescent side. So it will be self-sustaining. But we are requesting 2 additional paramedics, or two paramedics. Right now we have none on the convalescent trucks, and also 2 more advanced EMTs. And the purpose of that is to help with the hospital transfers, to free up our 911 trucks.
Anything else, Commissioners?
Gurley, did that make sense, sir? I mean, did it? Okay, okay.
Another thing we've done is we moved utilities. We had been paying for the utilities for that building out of our 911 fund, and vehicle maintenance and gasoline. We've estimated what it will be. We had no clue when we first started, but we have moved that, and we have moved the supervisor's salary into this also.
All right, if there's not anything else, we'll move on then. We appreciate your information there, and then we'll get that information from the mayor, and then we'll go from that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe next is our fire and rescue, Chief Farley. I want to say to, and I apologize to Commissioner P., I did step on your vote a while ago when we were voting. I did go ahead and do that. And the reason for that is I do not have the coronavirus. I do have the Bradford pear allergy. I can't hear that well. And when I heard that, and in this room right here, these ears don't work like they used to, and this Bradford pear really affects my allergies, and that's what that was. I thought I heard Reed, and it was P at that time, so I apologize for that, Commissioner. I believe the Bradford pear and the allergies come at the most inopportune time right now, so. Okay, Chief, we'll let you do your report, and then we'll also, I believe you have a budget amendment also. We'll do that, and then we'll do the budget.
All right, the monthly report for fire rescue had a total of 516 calls. 6 of those were structure fires. 268 were medical calls. 59 MVAs, 35 were with injury, 24 were without. 5 were extrications. Year to date, we've had 17 structure fires, 705 medical calls ran, 146 MVAs, 83 of those were with injury, 63 were without, 9 extrications for a total of 1,319 calls. Year to date for the including the volunteers, we've had 68 structure fires. If you'll see, most of those, 43 of those were in Allenville for some reason. The brush fires were 19, illegal burns 27, vehicle fires 12. We had 224 MVAs, 10 of those were extrications, and for a total call of 1,595 calls. Next is the sheet that we give to the Codes Department showing where the homes were damaged, address, in case they were to pull permits. The next sheet is our fire investigation report and the details of those cases. And the excuse me. Then the last one is 10 alarms were installed for the month of February for the Get Alarm installations. And one of the things I want to bring out is we've had 2 structure fires so far. One of them was on Mount Herman Road, I believe, where a gentleman had gone to sleep. He worked at Nissan a night shift. He had fallen asleep, and because of the smoke alarms we installed, it woke him up, and he opened the door. The kitchen was fully involved, so he went out the bedroom window. That's 2 cases we know of that these free smoke alarms have saved lives. So of all the alarms we put in, if it just saved those 2 lives, it's well worth it, in my opinion. So I was excited to hear about that. Budget amendment, you want to go ahead and do that with the report, or you want to do it separate?
Let's approve our report, and Commissioner Phillips, have a second. And Commissioner Sereno gives a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Have a budget amendment to move $10,000 out of the county line fuel line into our $10,000 move out of the county gasoline line into our diesel line item of $10,000. And that's the only one I have.
Have a motion to approve? Commissioner Gurley approves. Got a second by Commissioner Phillips. Call the roll.
Commissioner Sherino? Commissioner Gammon? Commissioner Rather? Commissioner Gurley? Commissioner P? Commissioner Phillips? And Chairman Reed.
Aye.
Well, first thing I want to point out is that if you look at the second sheet, last year, the fire and rescue budget was $5.9 million. After receiving the mayor's email, I've cut that down from $5.9 million to $4.2. That's about a 20% reduction from last year's budget. Of course, my salary is the same. The salaries on the firefighters are still got the 1% figured in those, so that will have to be reduced. One of the things I did want to bring out, we've got 32 firefighters, 15 of those are grants. We've got one full station we put on last year that we have no command staff in. Not adding any people, I just wanted to be able to take some of those positions and promote 5 lieutenants and 3 engineers, and also to use existing personnel to create a fire marshal's position. Because with I know things are slow right now, but with all the growth going on and all the planning going on, a lot of times I can't be at 2 places at once. So we need somebody active in that role as an active fire marshal. As you'll see, the grant positions, I've got them listed. That shows under the wages and salaries, the Social Security, the pensions, and also the employee insurance is all got grant up beside of it, along with what we have. Actually, the 307 communications, we actually dropped it from $52,319 to $49,183. This covers our internet, station phones, wireless phones, our CAD tough books that's in our units that we get direction and information on calls with. We've been doing a $2,000 a year forestry donation. I took that out this year basically because of cuts, and we don't, since we've gotten so big and suburban, we don't get a lot of assistance from forestry like we used to when you used to call for a bulldozer and get one that was in county. Data processing, that's our ESO, our fire reporting software, and also our medical reporting software that we use. Our salamanders, our own scene accountability that we use. This is the ESO is also provided to the volunteers to do their fire reporting, so they get full usage of that. On the, you'll see some lines that are highlighted in orange. All these items were in the budget last year under 599. Lisa Nolan moved those over there, and that line item we got sort when the sort building was put up under our operation in April because the budget had already been passed. So she told me to take those and divide them up in the proper places that they need to be. So if you look at 320, I put extra $2,500, $2,505 in that line item for our dive certifications and liability insurance and some of the dive equipment for fees that we have in that. The 322 is training. I added $3,939 into our training budget, which is 322. And then for repairs, I put $6,571 in a repairs budget, which is line 336. So that's why those line items are increased. And then under 701, I put $36,985 in our equipment budget, because that's equipment we have to buy for our turnouts. That line item provides turnouts, our personal protective equipment, our dive equipment, our hazmat equipment that we have to keep certified and purchase every year. But anyway, starting in line 334, is there any questions about where I moved that money out of 599? If you notice down there at 599, it's empty. There's other charges. So I just divide that 50,000 up into 4 different line items. The maintenance agreements is our copy machine. There's a generator for backup power at Station 51. There's also another one at the Sort Building on Fortress, which is what we call Station 60 now. Maintenance and repair is 50,000. I've gone up on that considerably because we've had sewer issues at Walt Hill Station, and we're continuing to have those. I am working with Mike Hughes, and he's working with Greg Brooks and our landfill, trying to get some a drain open up where it will help control some of the runoff water when it rains real heavy. All the water kind of sets on the sewer lines. So when we have a heavy amount of rains, it backs up, and we have to relocate those firefighters, which leaves the whole north end wide open. We have added 200 extra foot of fill lines, but from my understanding, environmental thought that when we did it, we were still a volunteer station, so there should have been a lot more lines installed, but it's still a work in progress. So that's and I've got 11 buildings to maintain. When we took over a station on Fortress, it's got 7 air conditioners in it. I had to replace one of those last year. I've had one that's been repaired. So it's just a lot more buildings to maintain. Of course, the 336 is our equipment, which we have to maintain do our extrication tools, our bottles, our ladder repair, all the things we have to have recertified every year with the extra money from SORT added in. The money on maintenance for vehicles is the same as it was last year. We maintain all county fire apparatus, all the new trucks that we bought and purchased, and also we maintain the fire apparatuses that the volunteers operate, that's county owned, that we still have the title. That way it helps them to, on their funds, it helps make sure that the pumps are in shape, everything's mechanically sound condition. Pest control for 11 buildings, stamps, $5,000 cover conferences and training, which is for travel. Our garbage pickup for Station 51. $300,000 is for the volunteer fire departments. That's other contracted services. 410 is custodial supplies. That's for 3 major stations. Diesel fuel is $66,000. That's for 12 fire apparatus and sort vehicles. We picked up those at extra building. I went up on medical supplies from $1050 to $12,000 because of medical gloves and other supplies we have to purchase. $16,800 for gasoline for our vehicles. Of course, I got $3,000 in there for fire and medical textbooks. We're about to start a EMR class in April, and this is just for the volunteer firefighters. All of our guys are EMTs or paramedics, but we do teach that class every year to allow the volunteers to get some medical training that when they're out on, if they do arrive on an MVA, they're able to stop bleeding and assist the patients to EMS or we can get there. So that goes into that. Of course, we've increased with 15 more firefighters, and then we got some volunteers now, so $45,000 for uniforms. The utilities is $56,780. $499 is the same as it was last year, is $36,850. And then line item 701 is, like I told you a while ago, it's for turnouts, our helmets, boots, turnout pants, hazmat suits, and dive equipment. The furnishers, replacement for beds, chairs, mattresses is all the same at $9,500. If you'll notice, I totally moved all the vehicles out of the line item. Y'all have been gracious and very helpful the last several years. We bought, I think it won't hurt us to do it without our replacement plan. We've replaced all the 01 trucks that were bought in 1990. We were about to start the trucks that were bought and paid for in 1999. but because y'all have been so gracious and we've done so well, we've replaced about 2 a year. I just totally took that out. That's something we can definitely do without. If you look at 724, I got $170,000 in parking lot at Barfield. What happened when they built that station? The county engineering required that it be pervious concrete. And if you're familiar with pervious, it's where water and everything drains through the concrete. Well, unbeknownst at that time, it was a new thing. Pervious concrete is not meant to be driven over. So what has slowly happened is that driveway has slowly deteriorated away to where it's just gravel and a lot of it's just chunks in there. It costs $4,000 to put a set of tires on a fire truck, and every time those guys turn in there, it just shreds the rubber on them tires. This is just for the concrete to replace it. I've worked out a deal with Greg Brooks of the Highway Department. He's agreed to come in there when we get this approved. He's agreed to come in there one day after July and dig all that up and haul it off and completely dig the concrete up, load it up and haul it off for us. And that's probably about $200,000 worth of work that he's willing to do for me because it's county operation. So that money right there is just to repour the concrete. We're going to build it up in the front where it drains toward the ditch and goes in behind the station. Because it just, and the mayor's seen it, it's terrible. And it's actually just eating the tires off our trucks. So I've left that in there. Also, I've got a sewer pipe. It's been my claim to fame this year. The sewer line that comes out of the front of the station, it cuts left, go to the septic tank, runs right in front of the bays, and where that concrete is deteriorated, it's dropped, and that drain pipe has got a low spot in it. So when the toilets drain and toilet paper, it hangs right there. I'm going to have to dig that up anyway to get that pipe fixed. So that's all part of that process. The last item that I've got is $55,000. This will be for 5 years. Our cardiac monitors are about to go out of date. They're in disarray and repair. And so this will be used to buy 5 cardiac monitors, and we'll pay for that over a period of 5 years. So that will be a recurring cost. Instead of spending it all at once, we're able to buy, and we've got to have those before we can administer drugs, because we have to be able to monitor the patient's heart rhythm before we can give them any kind of medication. So the grand total of my budget is $4,207,886, which drops it from, which was 5.9 last year. Any questions?
Any questions, commissioners? If there are not, then we'll take care of that and let you study those, and then we'll wait for those to come back after the mayor. You have an opportunity to go over those again. All right, the radio system.
Evening. Bring you up to speed where we are with the radio system right now. The interlocal agreement should be in our attorney's email box, if not now, before 8 o'clock. So that's a good movement on that. We briefly reviewed it. Everything looks good, so we're waiting for Nick's approval and the mayor's approval, and then we'll bring that forward. We were actually scheduled to start training today, but as you know what's going on, we had to reschedule our train the trainer, which was going to be all this week. So that's pushed us back a little bit, but project-wise, we're still good on our timing. The new sheriff's office cars that they came in, we've already got those set up, so when we start our over-the-air programming, we'll never have to touch that radio again except for one time. Some of the civil work, as of last Wednesday, is still expected to start at Lynch Hill and some other sites on April 1st. But since this is a fluid situation, I'm not sure where we're at with that. I'll have an update on that next Wednesday. Still waiting on some additional costs for Lynch Hill for the repair and remediation. And we're on, now that our trainer has been delayed, we're back on deploying the last section of sheriff's office radios that we were trying to get out. And the BDA that we had installed this week for the sheriff's office at the Judicial Center for first floor and in the detention area in the basement is 98% complete. we'll have to cut over one night when there's no courtroom because we'll have to bring the fire system down. So that's where we are with that right now. So we're still moving along pretty good. Hopefully the corona issue will not slow us down much further, but it's affecting us to some extent.
Early?
Yeah, I have one question. On Lynch Hill, can you elaborate just a little bit? Because I know when the state went to Lynch Hill, the first time there was no remediation needed. The second time, they spent most of the summer removing around 75,000 pounds of steel off of that tower. For those that are not familiar with the tower, it's an old AT&T tower. When the county acquired that tower, which was a very good move for a very low price back in a long time ago, it had the horns and all that are normally part of the microwave, AT&T microwave system. The county removed those, and then, like I said, in probably 14, I think it was, somewhere along in there, THP removed 75,000 pounds of material. Is the remediation such that something has deteriorated on the tower, or is it requiring additional, some of those platforms and additional wind loading that's caused by those platforms that weren't removed to be removed?
So I think I'm in line with you. I think it's crazy, to be honest with you. It's hard to believe that size tower could fail. But I believe what our issue is here is that when they ran it on the version H, that's where it got it on wind and ice. And the preliminary, what they said was all the cross members is what was going to have to be mitigated.
So if I'm understanding right, they're wanting to remediate the cross members, Motorola is?
The engineering firm is.
The engineering firm is wanting to remediate the cross members of that tower? Because I know at the time, Safety did 2 engineering studies on it. And I realize the standards change, but I would just urge you and the mayor to be very cautious on the, I would think that we could possibly remove some of the stuff that's up there and so on, and because we're basically hanging, what, in a microwave dish and a couple of vertical antennas on that tower.
3 dishes, yes, sir. So we do get that back and look it over and go through the whole process.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's, I find it hard to believe too. It's just, I mean, you know that's a beefy tower.
That had some, well, it had small school buses hung on the side of it, several of them, basically, in terms of size. And those were all removed. And then, like I said, 75,000 pounds of cross members were not necessary for the structural integrity of the tower. They were just platforms that added wind loading were removed in, I think, 14. So we may want to get a second opinion on that.
Yes, sir. Hopefully that'll be, I expect to see it back last Wednesday. Hopefully next Wednesday. What you have in front of you also placed a piece of paper. With us transitioning over to the trunk system, right now the only municipality that is involved in the current communications with us is the town of Eagleville. Their fire department as well as their police department are dispatched by the county. Their radio system is the county's radio system. So when we're moving to trunking, in a sense, we're literally pulling them and forcing them to come to the trunk system. So what I have in front of you is a proposal that allows the county to lease them equipment over a 10-year period that would bring them on board with us. So communications would be straight across the board. We wouldn't have to do any patching. Right now they're presently they're not encrypted. We're going encrypted on the law enforcement side. So the numbers you have are from the city of Chattanooga. They lease all their radios, and we took this program and adjusted our cost price for our units, and then everything trickles down and gives us what the yearly cost is for the total number of radios. For example, the law enforcement is using 4 portables, 4 mobiles. Fire department has estimated of 15 portables and 6 mobiles. So if you look at this line, you'll see The yellow goldish line is your yearly cost per unit, right? And then we're looking at the total yearly cost, which is in the green and the red, and we have a 5% future price increase on that, what the radio cost is, what the radio cost, which includes accessories, also an additional battery. So everything is covered, and this goes for 10 years, so they'd be paying for 10 years. And in our recycle program that we're hoping to do is by year 10, we're starting to recycle radios. So we'd start this process all over again. So
My question is, why cannot the city of Eagleville go ahead and just lease their own portables? Why does the county have to so-called foot the bill for that? 15, don't think 15 seems like a large number of fire portables, unless everyone in Eagleville wants to have something to listen to the fire department on. I mean, I don't know that Amelville, which covers a population much, much larger than Eagleville, has that many, have a need for that many portables. I just question, maybe the mayor can elaborate some, or Commissioner Reed maybe can elaborate some on why the county's even involved in leasing stuff to the city of Eagleville.
Mr. Chairman, that's a very good question, and thanks for raising that question. Peter, is that just the way it's always been?
Well, so in the past, they provide their own equipment, and since the radio system was really done ahead of beyond their budget time, this puts them into a budgetless communications, I guess you could say, for the upcoming year. So the budget for the coming year, yes, they could request that, but if they don't, it's how we're going to tie them into the present system.
They've known the same amount of time we've known. They're on their county's radio system. They've known where the county's radio system is going. I don't see personally that the lack of planning on their part is an issue on our part. That's just my feeling. I'll leave it up to the whole body and so on, but I don't see that the lack of planning on their part. They've known the same time. They've known. I mean, we voted on this a long time back, and they have known. So the fact that they didn't plan for this, they knew that the old system would go away, is not the county's problem, in my opinion.
You bring up a very good point, Commissioner. Mr. Chairman, that's your district. Nobody has approached me from the mayor nor their city manager. It hasn't been on my radar. Nobody's brought it before me until tonight, so it's a good point. I guess we need to look at it before we get into budget time.
That hasn't been brought to me either, but you said 15?
Total? So they would be paying the county every year $16,371.
Well, that's what I was asking a minute ago, so this is the way it's always been. There's been a lease. I guess it's just been ongoing, because I don't even remember my first year.
They just used the system. There's been no cost attached to it.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about what, 15 units?
So the fire department's design was for NFPA a radio per air pack, and then we looked at some of that, and trucks might have an air pack that would have a radio sit on that truck that may not roll out the door, potential theft issues. So we looked at, we could put it on a person, save some money, which would give them, they have 15 volunteers.
I was going to say that's volunteers.
Right, you're right. That's their entire department.
Because I know they don't have but 2 full-time.
Right. So what this plan is in a sense, yeah, we're assisting the town of Eagle, their size, with radios, and they're paying us back.
I really think it would behoove the mayor and city manager to come before this committee and have some kind of dialogue, and before we say we're going to cover you, because nobody knows anything about it.
Right.
If I'm making sense. I don't mean to diss them or anything, but it's just I didn't know anything about it. I try to know as much as I possibly can, but this is kind of a surprise to me as well. Mr. Chairman, if you want to invite them, maybe next month to have some dialogue with them.
Invite them,
we're happy to help any any community here, however we can, possibly can, but, just, I don't like surprises.
My feelings is, we have for as long as I can remember, which goes back about 40 years, in this county, allowed Eagleville to be dispatched and run off of the county's radio system as far as law enforcement and fire goes. So we've been, in essence, providing a service to the city of Eagleville for 40 some odd years. We're going to continue to provide that service. They're just going to have to change out the subscriber units that they are going to need to access that service. And like I said, if they've known about this, if they didn't plan in their budget, then that's a lack of planning on the city of Eagleville's part. So we're not going to kick them off of our system, as I understand. They're just going to have to. Their old stuff is not going to work on our new stuff.
I got you. Well, that's
why I just approach you to see how this would work through the county if this was possible for them. So.
I understand, and I'm not faulting you.
Right.
Great job on putting this together. I'm just questioning whether this is.
Sure.
I'm just questioning, like I said, no fault to you. Great job, but I'm just questioning whether this is something that the county should be even looking at, because they've known about this, and if they haven't planned for this, then that's not our fault. Right. We have been planning for this new system for quite some time, and they've known about it and knew that they could not continue to operate on the old system because the old system's going away. So that's my feelings. We're going to continue to allow them to operate on the new system. They're just going to have to buy the stuff that it takes to operate on it.
Mr. P.
Maybe I've got a different take from what the rest of you are getting on this, but down here at the bottom of the page that I got, it's basically saying we're going to assess the town of Eagleville $16,371 per year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. That's the lease payment they would pay us for 10 years for every year.
It doesn't sound like we're giving them anything if we're going to require them to pay. Now, I understand we don't have an agreement with that, and we need to get there, but contrary to what I'm hearing is we're not just giving this away. We're going to ask for payment on what it's costing us. So I think that
plus there's a 5% increase attached to that.
I understand, but like I said, I understand we need to talk to the council and the mayor from Eagleville to make sure that this is agreeable with them. But I think this is kind of a proposal on what it's going to cost us to do that for them.
Well, that was a question I had. Are they familiar with this, that this is to happen or whatever? Has it gone before their council, or has it?
So it's been presented to both fire and police, and they presented it to their town manager. And I've also been given the cost of what it would cost outright for this equipment.
Well, I just wasn't familiar with it, that there was a discussion to this point.
No, sir, I hadn't either. And I've talked to the mayor just about daily, especially in the last 2 weeks.
When I had a conversation with him,
I'll see him tomorrow. I'll go ahead and ask him. We're doing a PSA up here tomorrow. All the mayors are coming together to do a PSA that shows some unity for during this crisis. But I'll be happy to, Mr. Chairman, talk to the mayor and see if he's on board. Make sure that they're on board. Maybe it's our fault that we haven't reached out to them and said, "Hey, we're going digital, and your analog's not going to work." Maybe it's our fault. I want to help them. We don't need to leave our citizens out there without proper coverage with radio. So I think it's just a lack of communication. We'll get it together.
I just want to make sure that this is understandable, that we're all on the same boat there, and I think that would be better, that possibly if we could just take this up at our next committee meeting and let our mayor talk to their mayor, where we are on the same page and understanding. Because I'd hate for us to go ahead and prove this, and all of a sudden they don't understand that or whatever, then we got to start again. So that's just
right. Just to fill you, the conversation I had was, hey, here's an option, not guaranteed, but we'll present to see if they're in favor of this. that was as far as we got on this. You know, it's.
I understand.
Can't guarantee you, but we'll see what the commission will allow. Well, like I said, they've been provided upfront cost as well as that lease cost. So.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just want to be sure.
Thank you. That sums it up. Any other questions?
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Right, OSHA.
Good evening, Commissioners. If you look on your iPad, you should see where the OSHA report, there are 12 OSHA claims for the month of February for the entire year to date, which is just 2 months. You have a total of 38. The OSHA log, total recordable, there's 26. Restricted day claims, there's 14, with a total number of 291 restricted days. Lost day claims, there's 6, with a total number of 53 lost days. And your other recordables, you have 6. On the graph on the next page, you'll see the on-job injury claims. Year-to-date 2018 was 44, year-to-date 2019 was 29, and year-to-date 2020 is 38. On-the-job injuries, dollars incurred, you'll see the year-to-date for 2018 to $160,000. Year-to-date 2019 was 37, and year-to-date for 2020 is 99. And then you have the cause of injuries, Board of Education, there was 6. County General, there was 6, and breaking down the County General, there was 3, Sheriff Department, and 3 EMS. Any questions?
Questions on the report? We have a motion approved. Commissioner Gorley, second. Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, sir. All right, Judge Davenport, with your budget. Good evening.
On your iPad, you have what was submitted, and then I passed out, after we got the email from the mayor, of trying to cut back a little bit. So let me tell you what we cut. And out on the copy that I passed out to you earlier, you have in the right everything that is explained what we have taken out. We have a small budget. It's not that large, but we did, if you'll see at the bottom, the amount to the right there at the very bottom is the amount that we've taken out, that we can do without some things and we can just make through on our operating budget. So I'll give you a moment to look at that, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Judge, what's a takeout cell phone?
I'm going to give up my cell phone. It's 50-something a month or so, and I'll just use my personal phone. I can just use my personal phone. Because I'm on call 24/7 for removing children.
Just wondering what you were taking out there.
I'm going to just give it back. The contract's expired. That would just be one way we could cut some expense.
Okay.
It appears that most of the increase over last year
and the 896,000 comes in a new position? That's
It
where
is.
most of it comes
That's where
from.
it's coming from, is one more clerical position. Correct. And I would like to draw your attention to the bottom figure. You need to subtract the $46,448 because that's a pass-through grant that we have for our youth for our mental health evaluations and treatment.
That grant has been approved, correct?
Oh, yes, sir. It's our second year to have this grant. Yes, sir.
Is it possible that that could be pulled? Is it possible from a state level that they could pull those funds?
Well, I'm not sure it's state. I think it's a private grant. Is that answering your question? I'm sorry, Commissioner Phillips.
Wherever they come from, is it possible that they could be pulled?
That we could pull it or they could pull it?
They could pull that grant because of things that are going on in the world.
We had an informal conversation about that before it came through this year, and really 2 weeks ago when all this started, and I don't believe that they will. They're mental health specialists that we send our children for referrals for them to get immediate counseling on when they're having mental health issues. I don't really see that happen, but of course we're at a time where we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Under the unlikely circumstance that some grants, not just with this department, but other grants would be pulled, would we make adjustments to budgets accordingly?
Speaker Pro Tem, yes, we would. We would have to. We have no choice when things are cut. Nobody has a crystal ball in here. When it comes to the state, of course, the General Assembly recessed just last week. They'll come back in June, but before they left the other night, they did pass the governor's budget. So all of those grants from the state level now, from a private sector, I don't know. I don't know where their source of revenue is. If they derive their monies, maybe they're self-funding. But if a lot of their money's tied up in stocks, I have no idea. But if it's state related, I think we're good for another year.
But we're in unusual times.
Absolutely.
That this commissioner has never experienced before.
None of us have.
We don't know what the future is going to hold. So I'm all for leaving those things in there, but there could be a situation to come up or to happen where
3 months, 6 months down the road, we have to come back and adjust.
Absolutely. And I think we pay it monthly. We pay out of our budget monthly to them. I can double check that and get back with you on that. So if something were to happen, they don't get the lump sum money, if that helps any at all, that they get per month. I don't know if that helps or not. You're welcome.
Other questions? If not, Judge, we appreciate you bringing this to us.
Thank you very much.
It looks like you've done real well with it. We're good that you worked this way. All right, Recovery Court. Director and Commissioner.
The first things we'll do is the reports for Probation and Recovery Court. For probation, the classroom fees and the program fees was $0. The drug screens were $216. The scram fees were $268.37. And the supervisory fees were $5,485.63 for a total collection of $5,970.60. The revenue for probation and recovery was $24,589. The expenditures was $115,946.68
with the deficit of $91,357.08. We had $18,064 enter into a agreement. We had $16,266.50 not enter into agreement. In probation recovery services entered for 2019-2020 was $138,760. That's a deficit of $160,393. And that's that report. Any questions?
Do I have a motion to approve this report? Commissioner Gurley. Second, Commissioner Serino. All in favor say aye.
Drug court, we had 43 participants, 25 males, 18 females. You can see the breakdown of the races there. The drug of choice was prescription meds, followed by, heroin, followed by prescription meds. Counseling sessions, we had 409 attend, only 408 needed to attend. That was 100.25% attendance record. In AA-NA meetings, we had 207 attend, with 196 scheduled to attend, and that was 105% attendance rate. Drug screens, 146. Positive or dilute results were 17. Total fees collected was $1,165. Cost, 0. 27 community hours served. 1 graduate. No terminations. Going to DUI, we had 39 participants, 24 male, 15 female. The drug of choice is alcohol, followed by marijuana. Counseling session, we had 90 attend, 92 were required, which gave us an attendance rate of 97%. MRT session, 34 attended, 36 were required. That shows us a 94% attendance rate. In AA-NA meetings, 242 attended, 219 were required. That gives us a 110% attendance rate. Drug screen totals, we had 122 negatives and 11 positives. We collected $2,075 in court fees, program fees, no court fees, 4 graduates, 0 terminations. Moving on to mental health. We had 33 participants, 19 males and 14 females. Drug of choice was alcohol, followed by marijuana and amphetamines. Counseling sessions, 162 attended, 191 was required. That gives us an attendance rate of 84%. MRT sessions, we had 9 attended, 9 was required, that's 100%. AA-NA meetings, 37 attended, 24 were required. That gives us a percentage rate of 154%. Drug screens, we had 49 negatives, 15 positives. Program fees, we collected $100. No court fees, no community service hours, no graduates, 1 termination. And finally, in our Veterans Court, we had 24 participants, 20 males, 4 females. Drug of choice was alcohol. Counseling sessions, we had 124 attend, 126 were required. That leaves us with a 98% attendance rate. In AA-NA meetings, we had 174 attend, 137 were required. That gives an attendance rate of 127. Negative drug screens, 91, positives, 2. Program fees collected, 360. Court costs collected, 330. No community service hours, 2 graduates, no terminations. And that is my report for Drug and Recovery Court.
And motion to approve, Commissioner P. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Rather. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Ready for the budget?
Ready for the budget.
First budget I'm going to do is probation. The first part of it's salaries that will be cut, per the mayor's request. If you drop down to line 351, that will be cut by $51,000. That's our rent on the building we're currently leasing. Hopefully, I put the rent through December. I think we'll be finished with the courthouse by the renovations of the courthouse by then. So that'll take $51,000 out of my budget. Also, I'm dropping on line 709, I'm dropping $9,000. I had originally budgeted $9,000.
We have a copy of this, of your budget.
Really?
We don't have it? I can't find it here.
You come back next month. Huh? You come back next month. Okay, sorry.
We don't have it on the.
Yeah, I put it on that post.
Yeah, it's not on here, so they don't have anything to review, so I would just defer to ask you to come back at next month's meeting. Commissioner.
All right.
That's okay. That's okay. Hey, we got till July.
Are you there? What was the bottom line over last year?
Pardon me?
What's your bottom line number change?
I'm actually lower than last year on probation after taking out the line, removing line 709 and removing line 351. It actually cuts $9,000 under budget from last year. I have $1,547,037. Last year was $1,556,207. And okay. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. That's good to know.
Sorry.
All right. Correctional Work Center.
Mayor, before this presentation, I'm not sure that Commissioner Irwin will need to come back before this committee. If he can just provide the worksheet through emails, we can just take a look at it like that, and I'm not sure he'd have to come back.
Mr. Chairman, that's kind of a request without objection. That's fine with me if it's...
That will work. Director Irwin, it's just been requested that you just make that by email. We'll just accept that by email, your budget, and we'll just go through it there. That'll work just by the way we're doing this. That would be very appropriate. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, sir.
All right, the first thing on our report is our monthly board meeting from March 2nd. And we were right on track with our expenditures, and can't say where we're going to end up now that we've had this crisis, but we should continue on right on track. I would hope some of this stuff that we kind of saw early on, and we made some provisions, and needless to say, we've got enough toilet paper to last us through June or July. So I'm pretty positive we've made a few few provisions as we saw this coming. So if you'll flip over to your work release program report, I made the decision on Friday afternoon to postpone all those work release employees, and we're working with those 12 or 13 companies to make sure that when this is under control that they'll have a job to go back to. It's just safer to keep those guys in than it is to send them out and have them in the general public and then have a possibility of bringing that back into our facility. Then over on our yearly activity report, our population is, I mean, it hasn't changed very much at all. Might have dropped a couple people within the past few weeks. So as far as I'm concerned, our numbers should stay about the same regardless of where this whole thing goes. One big change that we will see is over on our monthly worker report. We've suspended some of those outdoor work crews that are going and working in offices at Laverne and having contact with the general public. Mostly the things that we have kept going are our litter pickups with the county, with Smyrna. Laverne called today and suspended theirs. They just didn't feel safe with it. We're keeping ours with MAC, and then the guys that we're sending out doing the interstate. So we will continue to do that. Those are the only work crews that are leaving the facility right now. You'll look at the February report. Looks like a total combined savings of $102,208 using that inmate labor in the different municipalities. Our state litter pickup for January 2020, we totaled $8,533.85 that'll go back into the general fund with doing our litter pickup, and that's something that we will continue to do through this pandemic that we're in. I would like to mention before we finish up with this report, just to keep, and I think I can speak for Director Duke and Sheriff too, and just to keep our corrections personnel in your thoughts and prayers. They're sometimes forgotten when this whole idea of public safety is talked about. These people are going inside every day to a normal, volatile situation, and then you pour all this on top of it, and it's just like kicking a powder keg around. So keep those people in your prayers. There is no social distancing in jail, so this is something that we have to deal with every day. And that's my report.
Motion approved. Commissioner Phillips, to have a second. Second, Commissioner Rather. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Report is approved. Thank you, sir. All right, juvenile detention report.
Chairman, as the next report is coming up, I believe I remember a request by the mayor of Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken, to ask all the criminals to stop robbing and killing while we're going through this. So maybe we ought to do the same thing. Clear our jails out.
That sounds like a good request. All right. I believe you were ready last month, but we're ready this time.
Okay, well, I have about 4 things tonight. The first thing is going to be our usual monthly report. It's going to be for February. Just based on our time situation, the very best thing in my report is that we have a young man who, while he was with us, has obtained his high school diploma, and he is currently enrolled in some online college courses, and he's going to be pursuing his associate's degree while he's with us in business administration. But as usual, I will happily answer any questions you have regarding any section of this report.
Just one quick question, and you've updated us on it several times, but historically, we've had issues with turnover, and I think that's been improved, and does that continue to hold?
Well, we have lost a few of our employees. They are moving to other public safety careers, so I do have some openings right now. But we are, we're working with our overtime. You're going to see in a little bit, I've had one employee who has had an extended leave situation, and in a little bit when we get to my budget amendment, I'm going to be moving some money, if it's approved, into my overtime to take care of that.
How are we with other counties in meeting their obligations?
As far as
Amount that they owe?
Oh, yes, we don't have any issues with any of the counties that still owe money. It's usually when the public safety meeting comes, we get the checks shortly thereafter, so I'm always kind of a month behind in reporting that those checks are coming in.
Any other questions on the report? Do I have a motion to approve? Commissioner P. moves the motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Commissioner Phillips. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Report is approved. I believe you have a budget amendment.
I do have a budget amendment. I am moving I would like to move $15,000 from within our existing budget to our overtime line item, and that extra money is going to be in the 115 line item from that extended leave that gentleman was on, and in the attendance line item from an open position that we had.
Commissioner Phillips makes the motion to approve. Commissioner Gurley seconds. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Peake? Yes. Commissioner Sherrino? Yes. Commissioner Gammon? Commissioner Rather? Yes. Commissioner Gurley? Yes. Commissioner Phillips? Aye. And Chairman Reed.
Aye. Motion carries.
I don't see on the iPad, do y'all show on your side that there's a contract? It is there? Okay. So I also have a contract with the state of, the Department of Children's Services, state of Tennessee. Nick Christensen, County Attorney, has looked at this. He had seen it before, and he wanted to change or tweak a little bit of the wording, and this contract reflects the changes that Nick wanted to make. And this contract is for a very short period of time. It's just through the end of the fiscal year, and it is to speed up the state's ability to roll out their checks to us.
Are you asking for approval of this contract amendment?
I'm asking for the mayor to sign off on this so that I can turn it back into the state, and it has updated language in it that is different from a DCS contract that we had existing.
Saying that will provide information the state needs to get money back to us quicker?
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a good thing to me. I know they're usually the ones dragging their feet on their payments. So if you need a motion on that, or do you?
Well, I'm not authorized to sign any of the contracts, so whatever we need to do to allow for the mayor to sign off on it.
We just need a motion to give her authorization to sign that contract.
Motion, and for also the mayor to sign, or whoever else needs to make this appropriate.
Okay, we have the motion made by Commissioner P. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Sereno. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I think we're now to budget. And last month, I submitted a needs and a wants. I'm just going to stick to the needs budget. Everything will remain the same. I did include the salary numbers that were provided originally by the Finance Department, but I understand that those numbers are potentially going to be changing based on the reasons that the mayor referenced earlier tonight. The bottom line on this particular budget is that it is less than a $10,000 increase from last year's budget, so we were able to do that. We had one line item last year that was a one-time purchase. It was in line item 790, and because that was not a recurring item, the budget remained basically the same. It's a continuation budget except for just a few line items, except for those salaries. So once those salaries are adjusted down, then it will be less than our budget was last year. If you want to specifically discuss the line items that increased, I can do that, or I can just answer questions.
Just highlight the significant ones if you don't mind.
Okay, so we'll skip down, starting with line item 317. That's our data processing services. That has gone up just a small amount. Last year it was $4,150, and this coming year it is going to go up to $4,300. So that's a small increase. We had an increase in line item 334, that's maintenance agreements. The increase was because of that one-time purchase that we made last year involved some security equipment, and there is some maintenance agreements associated with that. So that's going to increase this year from $7,500 to $10,200. The next line item that increases is line item 340, and that is our medical and dental services. That increase is based on an existing contract that we have with Rudd Medical, and each year it was written in the contract to increase.
Commissioner Gurley has a question.
I've got on mine, the first one is a needs budget and the second one is a wants budget. If you keep scrolling, I don't know why they're all on there, but you'll get to mine eventually. Try page 12. I'm sorry. Do you want me to go backwards? Okay. Okay, and now we're on line item 399. That went up $10,000. That is our food services and our mental health services. There was a slight increase in our cost per meal, and our mental health services are being used slightly more than they were the previous year. And then office supplies, I added $300 to it, so when it went from $7,700 to $8,000. Probably the biggest increase in any of these line items is the last one, and that's going to be in $499. It went up $4,000. That's the other supplies and material line items, and that's just where we get the majority of the supplies that run our department. All of our all of our chairs are breaking, so we're having to replace them, and they're usually 24-hour chairs, and they're about $400 a piece. And of course, our cleaning and hygiene supplies come out of this line item. And those are the only increases that I had in the needs budget.
Questions?
And that's all I have.
If not, this will give us an opportunity to look at this further, and we'll look at it when it comes back with you and the mayor, when y'all go look at it further.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you. I believe we're now ready for the sheriff. As the sheriff's coming up here, commissioners, I want to explain to you a little situation that happened when the schools closed last week. We all found out some things, things we hadn't experienced before. Not Monday, but Tuesday, all of a sudden, I started getting calls about why the lights were still flashing at all the schools. All the crossing lights were still flashing. And so we went about trying to figure out how to turn those all off. And went by the sheriff, went by the school superintendent, and we found out we had to pull individuals off the cleaning crew to get those lights turned off. But when you have 48 schools to get that done, it takes everybody. And we appreciated Mayor Spence. He was involved in this too, because some of the schools require the sheriff's department to be involved in this too. So we got them off. We finally got 2 individuals off the cleaning crew to get those lights off. But we finally had that taken care of. But what happened, we were so busy trying to get those schools cleaned and taken care of that there's a lot of things you just don't realize happens. So a lot of this is all new, but appreciate the sheriff and his individuals who were also got involved in this too. So it's interesting what you learn right quick, and you found out right quick what's your fault. And I found out right quick those lights flashing at Rockville were my fault. So we got them off. So thanks a lot, Sheriff. We're ready for you.
Hello. Y'all been waiting on me all night, hadn't you? I had an add-on. I'm going to go ahead. It's a grant. It's a mental health transport grant that the governor has been working on since he's been elected. We can be part of a $3.9 million grant that the state will give us to reimburse us when we do mental health transports. It will be based on all the counties. So we'll get what we can get, and there will be some type of reimbursement when we transport, or we may not get any of it. The smaller counties or other people may eat it up, but we want to at least apply for the money.
I have the motion to approve the grant application. Commissioner Phillips, second by Commissioner Gurley. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I have an amendment to take some money out of my gasoline account and put it into custodial supplies, an amount of $22,000. We're down to $300 in our custodial supplies, and we're going to need it.
Motion approved, Commissioner Phillips. I believe you got a second over here, Commissioner P. Any more questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner P? Commissioner Sherino? Commissioner Gammon? Commissioner Rather? Commissioner Gurley? Commissioner Phillips? And Chairman Reed.
Aye. Carries.
Maybe the first time I've ever
We did last year. Wasn't much. The Second Amendment will be that we did receive the AAA Tennessee Traffic Safety Grant, an amount of $3,500. We need to move $1,000 into the restricted for public safety, and then we're going to set $1,500 aside and use $500 now to buy some Polaroid cameras so we can start the Yellow Dot program, which is, we have several elderly people that are willing to do this. We take pictures, we put a medical folder together in their glove box, yellow dots placed on their car. All public safety workers will recognize that and know exactly where to go to get that information.
Motion approved by Commissioner Phillips. I have a second. Second by Commissioner Sereno. Any more questions? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner P? Commissioner Sereno? Commissioner Rather? Commissioner Gurley? Commissioner Phillips? Chairman Reed.
Aye. Approved. You have a report there. I believe you can, anything that you'd like to bring to our attention?
The only thing, we're going to give it another month. I think I've spoken about the overtime. I've already spoken with Lisa about that. We've had so many open positions. We feel like we'll be able to take care of that with our salary money, and we will be short around 100 to 110,000 in utilities. But so far, hopefully found some money within my budget to take care of that. So those two will be short.
Motion moved to approve the report. Commissioner Phillips, do I have a second? Commissioner P seconds. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Report's approved.
I'm going to take it easy on y'all tonight. Give y'all a chance to digest this until our next meeting. I have marked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the longer sheets of paper that I've given you. These are what I call my short budgets. We're obligated to appropriate the money, but this lake duty, what we call special patrols, this is something that the Corps engineer pays us to do. All this money is reimbursed to us. So this $49,480 is a contracted price with the Corps. We just put it in the salary line items. The mayor signs, we sign, and then this is done. So this is reimbursed money. The highway department, or what we call traffic control, is number 2. Again, this is all reimbursed money. And it's if and when we do any type of traffic control for the highway department while they're doing work. The sex offender registry, most of this is funded by what we make from the sex offender registry, except for the salary. It doesn't come close to paying for that. But a lot of the money we do make from the fees. And that went up slightly just because the person that's doing this job right now makes more money than we budgeted for last year. So the salary was a couple thousand more. Number 5 would be our drug enforcement fund. That's actually lower, and as you know, we fund this through the drug fund, except for the salaries. We do use, on the next page would be your transfer, we do give the county $50,000 for their overtime. That doesn't cover all of it, but it's a good chunk of it. So we transfer this money to our general fund overtime. And the last one is our DEA budget. That's the federal money we get. And as y'all know, we can't budget that money, so I show a 0 balance and just pull a 5 because budget and finance likes it that way. So we will do appropriations for that come July or August. So that's the easy one. I think the sheriff and I both agreed we're not going to, we understand what the county's going through. We understand what the mayor's asked us to do. What I have done is basically I have not put personnel in my budget that we requested, okay? And I will, it says that on the summary sheet for the jail budget, that not reflected in this proposed budget. However, on the right side of those line items, you will see what it would cost if we did get those people. So I tried to break it down like that. Other significant increases would be Dr. Rudd's medical contract, which we have no control of. This is something we did, I think it's going into its 4th year. And the part-time increase of $83,000. So I tried to break it down as simply as I could on what we were asking, which is a 2.8 increase was showing with no personnel. But it does show, I believe it shows the, no, I left my part-time, it may, yes, it does show the part-time increase. So I will leave it up to the mayor and for us to sit and discuss about those at a later time. Can't do it, we can't do it, and we understand why. Other big increases here, we could not do our utility taxes of the sewage last year because we didn't know what they were going to pass. Our increases has been due to the taxes that they placed on the sewage last year and the water. All my increase has been totally in the water part of my bill, okay? So that's why that's going to be $50,000 more. I'm hopeful with the new projects, maybe we see our utilities go down a little bit. So I'm going to leave it at about 50. I'm with the rest of the people too, as far as salaries are concerned. They will probably go down, which will lower my salary, my budget more when I get new numbers from budget and finance about my salaries, okay? So these are very much estimated at this point. Our food is slightly going up because we negotiated with them with no increase. That's a good thing, but I'm having, the lower my numbers, the more I already pay. The higher my numbers, the less I pay. So I want to give myself some cushion in that area so I don't have to ask for money later. We're increasing our jumpsuits for the inmates, and our population fluctuates. They're hard on our clothing, so I'm increasing that line item. And I'm also increasing the cleaning and hygiene that would more reflect what I'm using right now. As you see, I gave substantially food. We did the bid on the kitchen equipment last year, so there's no need for me to have a large budget in that area. And I'm dropping the other equipment by $40,000. I'm sure once we get together, we can probably cut some more, but it'll give us time to sort of look over everything and then hear your opinion, which Y'all call me, I get any information y'all need, especially when it comes to, y'all know, our IT part. I've got everything from inventories to exact services we use. I can get it all to you, okay? I can't, IT is just off the chain. Lisa wanted me to bring this up, and we talked to the mayor about it. I'm not asking for it, but I have to tell y'all that our generator that powers the whole building when the power goes off, we were thinking, oh, $350,000, $400,000. $690,000 is what it will take to replace that generator. With all the new parts coming into the jail, you know, and it's wired to function all the needs that we have, I'm certainly not putting that on the table, but I need to let y'all know that if we go down, we were down 13 days, I think 2 years ago, and that cost was $60,000 for 13 days. So I have to let you know about it. I'm not asking you to make a decision, and I'm not begging you for the money. I'm just letting you know what's going to happen if it goes down. And one part was $40,000, I believe, on this last time around.
This is more of a comment than a question. Having dealt in my career with a lot of generators, big generators like yours and bigger, that generator has been on its last leg ever since I came to work for the county in 11. That was 9 years ago. It probably should have been replaced already. It is dangerous when the whole jail goes down. It's not the offices that we have to worry about. I mean, you know, yeah, that's a handicap, but it's the jail. When the jail goes down and has no power, we're in trouble. And it's kind of like the boiler. That happened right after I came to work for EMA back in 11 or 12 time frame, somewhere along in there. And I made a quick run to Nashville to the EOC down there where they had a stockpile of blankets. We brought back a van load of wool blankets. Because it was cold out that night and there was no heat in the jail. And so there's two things that really, we can bring in sack lunches if the kitchen goes down. But if we lose electricity and heating in that jail, we're in trouble. We're in trouble in a lot of ways. That'll probably cost us more in the long run than fixing it up front. So I know we're in dire times, but I don't want to get in more dire times. So I would urge you to, I know the condition of that generator. It's probably under capacity too for what you have in the jail right now because it was put in a long time ago. So go and include it, and Mr. Mayor, please consider it, and everyone, because those are two things that we
It hurts
cannot
my soul to
tolerate.
even ask, trust me.
Yeah.
I just would like to get the information out there. I know this looks huge on this sheriff's side. It is a 6% increase, and this doesn't even reflect the 17 people we're asking for. Now, the 17 is not included at all in my budget, okay? I just wanted y'all to look it over, and again, if we can talk about it later, but y'all will know ahead of time, and we can get together if we need to. If y'all having questions, we can get together and talk about it. The phone I did, our phone system is going down, and that's the phone system you call warrants, or you call dispatch, or you call booking. Yeah. The system's over 25 years old. And when we say eBay, Black Box goes to eBay to buy parts for this. We got with the county IT, they said this was the best pricing because they would have to come change all our switches. Now, switches is what connects everything together, and that's $1,500 a switch. And we have a lot of switches. So, IT said this would be the best value for us. We wouldn't have to replace any of that. So that's, of course, under consideration. We have, as far as the cloud storage for the GTEC, it's at $317, the $40,000. We have GTEC cameras right now, and I have no choice. The more GTECs I get, though, the less I have to pay to utility. So I'm paying them also because we have 50, 60 cars still in utility. So the more I get in GTEC, the less I'll have to pay in utility for our storage. Everybody's on the 2019 license email for us. That's 500 license. And the VPNs, remote logins for our laptops at the schools. That'll have to be paid for. The DP equipment is the same. It's just the price of doing IT business. It's going to go up. Every time you get something new, the next year it's going to go up because you had something new. And you have to pay for the support system that surrounds it. A thing that I would really like, but this is definitely a need and we can take off the table, is the night vision. Of course, we've already talked about that, but I'd already had these printed and I didn't want to reprint them. We're currently, for the 28 cars we got last year in 718, $254,000 is our lease payment for this year for those 28. I want to add 30 more, as we talked about last year. I think altogether I've given up 62 cars, older vehicles at this point. And I need the new ones. So, and I told the mayor and the sheriff and all, that's one that I like to stick with. Since we started this program, I can't make those 62 cars come back to me. Have some part-time positions, and again, this is negotiable, but we do need the additional crossing guards. And I was very specific on where these guards were going, because I want you to know where they're going. So these are the major areas we're having problems in. And Rockville, for one, would have a total of 4. Christiana Middle needs a total of 4 because they're all, you got one up here, you got one down here, you got one here, you got, you know, and if I have 2, I've got to choose who's going to go up on the hill and then who's going to stay on the 4 lane. We do have some reclassifications. Sonia has helped me. It's not many. We have a lieutenant that's doing our legal work. Sonia brought this up last year. We had a lot going on last year. But he works closely with the county attorney, and if we did not have him, our county attorney would be billing a whole lot more hours. Goni does a lot that he does a lot that he's not getting paid to do, and it's time we pay him. So we would like to classify him as a captain, and I think that's a military thing too for a lot of your legal people to be captains. You're sort of just reversing. I'm taking money, you're saving money in lieutenants, but you're putting it in a captain. And I think altogether it's probably only about, Sonia, 5,000, something like that. Do what? Okay. And again, as the ambulance service talked to you about and Sonia did, I've had 7 openings in communications all year. I'm pushing $72,000 in their overtime. And we need to get them a grade up. We get 2 and we lose 3. I just, and most of our ones we're training don't even make it out one night on the floor training. They're gone. So the only thing we can do is try paying them a little more, and I think that would put us closer to, Laverne's probably the highest paid in this area, and I think that would put us a couple grand under Laverne. So, and again, we talked, our warrants people, you know, they've been called clerks and clerks and clerks, and I'm tired of people calling them clerks. They're not clerks. They serve papers, they write reports. They just don't, they're not certified. And they should be given that respect of at least being a 16. And the things they do, I was telling Sonia, a good example, had a guy from Georgia walk in, my clerk, that y'all want to call him, he says, hey, I just killed my wife. You need to call somebody. That's not a clerk. That doesn't happen at the courthouse. And the things they deal with now, the sovereign citizens and everybody else who has inundated our lobby lately, they're not regular clerks. You know, they don't go home. They're 24/7, and they need to be respected. And paying them a 14 is not enough. And they don't get to go home on holidays. They don't get to shut down the doors. They're there 24/7. They process all our warrants. They process all our reports. They serve civil papers. Thank the Lord we have them there, or we'd be serving them, but people will come. So I would really like to keep that on the table. Training went up, and it's only because we want to send 2 people to the Forensics Academy. That is $13 tuition, but it's also another $3 grand for per diem and travel, when, you know, the gas and stuff. They stay there, but they still get to come home. I want it. I think we need it. I understand the situation we're in, and something else we can take a look at. But y'all see that big red on the last page of that, the big red number, it says 120. That looks like that we're like not asking for 120. That's actually been moved up into your 338 because Lisa was paying the bills recently, and she's like, why are you paying, you go to get your car fixed, they put a water pump on. Well, you're paying the pump out of here to Roberts, but then you're paying the repairs up here in 338. I said, but I guess that's the way y'all wanted it. You know, and she says, no, pay for all that out of your, you know, put your parts up there and pay for it. I'm not going to go zero on that because we do buy vehicle parts, and we keep them at the SO. So I want to be able to buy parts to keep, especially halogen bulbs and things like that, because they go out all the time. So I don't think there's anything here that we can't work out with the mayor, and it's a lot. I know it. I'm always there. Y'all know that. You can call me, the sheriff, if y'all want to come down. If you want any copies, especially of the IT, which I usually have for y'all, and I will bring it, and bring it to the mayor also when we meet next. And it shows you specifically what we spend that money on.
I'd just like to make a comment. I recently was over at the SO here a few weeks back and was being shown some, I'd seen it before, but You know, y'all have suffered a tremendous amount of water damage in relation to phone, IT, and all that, which indicates an underlying issue that we may have to deal with in the future. I don't know that anyone knows how to resolve that particular issue, but you're addressing it in a positive way by relocating critical infrastructure. But it is critical infrastructure. If it doesn't work, then once again, a lot of things don't work. Because, you know, all your lockdown, everything in the jail is controlled by something that has an IT connection, all the way from the car terminal all the way back. And so those are things that we've got to keep up. And I've been reading, I don't know how many other commissioners get, but you most likely, if you got on those email lists that the feds and the state have of DHS and intergovernmental and all that, you'll notice that the chances of, in this time, you know, the time if you want to hurt somebody, you hit them when they're down. And so cyber attack type of thing is becoming more of a potential issue for us. And I just had a dealing. I was trying to do some business over in North Carolina here last week. And they said, well, this office is down, is going to be out. It's not going to be function. Everything's got to be done by hand and everything. I thought, okay, this is COVID-19. No. They had a ransomware attack that shut down Durham County. And it's taken them weeks to rebuild it. Weeks to rebuild it. And so they're doing business, but they're doing business very, very slowly. And of course, they were doing business by paper stuff, and now COVID-19 shut the paper stuff down. So they're pretty much shut down because COVID-19, we say, everybody go broadband, go do your business electronically. Well, if the electronics part's shut down, you can't do that. So I'm just saying it is a critical thing, and y'all have gone through a lot of stuff over there, and so, like I said, heat, I'll add that to my other two. Heat, the generator, and IT stuff is critical infrastructure to keep your department running. There may be some other things we can do without, but those are three things that have got to stay up to snuff, so to speak.
Well, the sheriff and I will go back through, and again, when we meet with the mayor, I'm sorry, I failed to tell you, this last you have here is, Lisa gave this to me to give to you all. This is if we got everything we were asking for. It was all, you know, golden honey out there. She put that together to show you the increase from her budget finance. Her numbers are way better than mine most of the time. So that's just something for y'all to look at on that end.
Okay, other questions? Anyone?
Just a quick comment from being on budget for many years. One of the worst things that can happen to us is to come in with a low budget, and that sounds funny, but I've seen past mayors that have cut the budget some, for instance, gasoline from the sheriff's department to make it look a little better, and we had to come back and pull out of the general fund to keep them floating. And the only thing I want to caution all of us on these budgets is we need to watch these requests, look at them ourselves very closely, because we don't need to shortchange and say, hey, this is going to be enough when we really think it's not going to be. We don't need to undercut them where we can't. Now, having said that, the mayor is approaching this in the correct manner by looking at basically a zero budget increase for the year. And that doesn't mean that there's not going to be some, but hopefully there'll be savings there, and, maybe we'll not have as bad a problem with our income as we fear. But I think it's always better to err on the side of being under than being over. The only other thing I want to say, and maybe you can enlighten me on some of this, I was hoping that the mayor would be able to address this, but Commissioner Gurley kind of hit on it. We get a lot of information as commissioners, you know, the Center for the Disease Control, FEMA, you know, we get those emails. If you don't, you certainly can be put on that. But being able to pass that on to our constituents, just to let you know, I've been posting some of them that I thought were pertinent on a Facebook page. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because there's a lot of rumors out there, and if you're getting it straight from the source, which is FEMA, Center from Disease Control, what the governor is actually putting out, instead of, you know, well, there's going to be martial law next week, or, you know, this kind of rumor going around is not good for anybody. But we are putting a lot of that, and I assume, Mr. Reed, you may be able to tell us, our PIO is addressing these kind of things. Like, Sheriff, you got something to say about it too, I hope. But the main thing I want to say is, you know, we're going to put out the correct information. It's going to be on our webpage. It's going to be on our television. You'll be getting information from our public information officer too.
Well, as far as martial law, there's been nothing said by either federal or state to indicate that we're even thinking that. We've been in touch and been on several conference calls with the Secretary of Homeland Security and several other departments at the Washington level, and then also we're on conference calls at our state level and constantly monitoring the situation. We do put out on our Facebook the information that we've got in terms of what we're doing. We forward what the mayors are putting out as far as any closings of businesses and so forth. So we're trying to keep the public informed in that area. As far as the detention facility and the law enforcement facility at the Sheriff's Office, we're fully staffed. We are making all the calls that are coming into us. We are and have instituted reforms at the jail at this particular time, where we've closed down any visitation at the jail. Even though we were doing video visitation, we're now doing that remotely, and then we have increased the number of calls that our inmates can make to their families for free, whereas normally they would be charged for this. The reason for that is I did not want the public coming into our public areas and infecting our employees. That's one of the things that would kill us, is if our employees start becoming affected. I don't have trained and qualified people that I can bring in behind them, because all the other agencies would be in the same boat that we're in. So we do have contingency plans in place. Our SROs, of course, obviously are fully certified law enforcement officers, and they are backfilling in particular positions that we've got now. We have also have some who have built up some time where they are able to take off at this point. And then as we have anybody that goes down in our law enforcement side, then they are pulled in and they augment that. So we're keeping a fully staffed force available at all times. We have ceased all face-to-face with our inmates with the lawyers, but we do allow them to do video face. We do still have video court that is going on, and then we still do have certain instances where we do transport some of our inmates for some hearings that just have to take place, so their rights won't be violated. So we've instituted quite a few things. If people will look at the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office Facebook site, we're trying to keep our public informed as to any changes that we're aware of or anything that's going on at the Sheriff's Office. As far as martial law, no, there's nothing been even mentioned about that.
The only reason I mention that is that some of the rumors that are out there on the web, and you know, I want people to go to the correct sources to check this thing out. You know, don't rely on something you heard from a neighbor that they heard from a friend.
One of the things that we're asking, and I know these are, they're difficult times for all of us, because frankly, this is something that none of us has faced. We don't really know all the answers as to what to deal with it. But we do ask for people to please call an authority, and if you have a question, and try to get the correct information. There's nothing worse than people passing incorrect information and then panicking people. And that's one of the things that we're trying to avoid, because I think that's going to affect all of us if that happens. But please, I do ask you to stay on the Facebook sites and whatnot, and then we will pass information on as we get it. I hope that answers.
Just to let you know, I know last Thursday I met with our public information officer, and we went over some of these things then. And it was decided at that time that we would, a lot of the things that had been, we used as far as reporting, as far as county was concerned, we did use Facebook and some of that social media. We decided at that time to go to Alert Rutherford, because Alert Rutherford can be used by individuals who are not necessarily on Facebook or who are on internet as such. They could, that is, goes through your telephone. So we are urging people now to sign up to Alert Rutherford, because just like we use Alert Rutherford for tornadoes, flash floods, things of that type, Alert Rutherford now is giving updates as far as we are concerning the coronavirus. So that was implemented, well, I think 2 days ago. I think is when we started doing that. So it's continually being updated. It's giving out a lot of information as far as what's happening here. And then you also, what I see quite a bit of, they keep saying, why doesn't the mayor do this? Why doesn't the mayor do this within the government? Well, the thing people need to understand, a county mayor is different from a municipal mayor, and that's the difference in the governments. And we operate, of course, on the Tennessee Code annotated and the Tennessee Constitution, where we can't do some things that a municipality comes out and issues certain things. So, you know, there are things that operate differently that the people don't understand, but it's being updated daily and being worked with daily. So I would urge people that you do find that contact. I don't have it laying right here with me, but go to Alert Rutherford and be sure to sign up on that, because if you have a cell phone, it will contact you when there is a change. If you have a landline, it will contact you and keep you updated at your home.
Mr. Gurley, I thought you had a question.
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate what Commissioner P. said. I mean, there are rumors all over the internet about martial law. Somebody sees a guard truck. What people don't realize is the guard's heavily involved in this from a medical standpoint. The guard has a lot of medical resources. The guard's been involved and continuing to be involved in the tornado. We had tornadoes come through here just a few weeks back. Those are all things. And as far as the martial law thing, I've been involved in that in one instance. Martial law only takes effect when civil government breaks down. When the sheriff says, I'm no longer going to enforce the law, the police chief in Smyrna and Laverne say, I'm no longer going to enforce the law, then martial law might be declared, because we have no civil law enforcement at that point in time. The time that I was involved in that was the city of Memphis, 1978. The police department walked out, went on strike, and the guard was deployed. Martial law was declared. A curfew was declared, because you can imagine the city of Memphis with no law enforcement, basically. But we have a strong civil law enforcement in all our municipalities and within the county. They're not going anywhere, and they're committed to maintaining the peace and order of this county. So rest assured that martial law is a long way away. Toilet paper, on the other hand, I can attest to that.
Well, I can assure you that we constantly stay in touch with our brother and sister agencies. So all the chiefs and I talk quite often on what's going on, and so we're sharing information back and forth. So I assure you we're all working very hard on this. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate that. We're now down for other business. I do want you to mark your calendars for June. We're going to have to move our date, which was supposed to have been on the 22nd. We're going to have to move that to June the 17th due to some changes for budget, for the budget planning. I got this from Lisa so that we can get that taken care of. So they're moving public safety to the 17th. I think they're moving the education to our 22nd date. It's being moved to, it's taking our date and we're moving up to the 17th. So please mark your calendars for that. And that's, I think that's something to work with Commissioner P for your committee so you can get some things taken care of there. They said this would help them do that. Commissioner Serino, do you have a question? 17th, the 17th of June. You'll be notified on that, but I thought I'd give you an early notice on that we're going to have to change that so that we can make that all work. Any other business that should come before this group at this time? If not, appreciate everybody coming out. I move it's adjourned.